What is going on, everybody? It is JLJ Fishing here, and today I'm showing you guys everything you need to know to catch a lot more bass. Before we get into this video, just want to tell you guys only 1.6% of you guys watching my videos are actually subscribed, so if you guys could take the time, hit the subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it. Today we're going to be going over the 4 main segments to help you guys catch more bass. These 4 segments are having the right setup, how bass act in each season, knowing what color lures to throw, and what lures to throw. Starting off with number 1, we have having the right setup. If you want to catch more bass, then you need to have a versatile setup that can cast the lures that you're using far distances. The main thing you're looking for in a rod is medium flexibility. You don't want your rod to be too stiff and you don't want it to be too sensitive, no diddy. I would recommend you get a medium action 7-foot rod. Whether you're fishing from the bank or from a boat, a 7-foot rod gives you maximum casting distance, but also it's small enough so you can cast in tight spaces. With a 7-foot medium action rod, you will be able to cast heavier lures like a whopper plopper and also cast lighter lures like a Senko and a fluke. If you are a beginner, you are going to want to use a spinning reel because it's easier to operate as a new angler to bass fishing. The best spinning rod and reel combo that I would recommend you guys buy as a bass fisherman is a 7-foot Abu Garcia Max Pro spinning combo. In general, Abu Garcia is a very reliable brand for fishing combos, whether it's a baitcaster or a spinning combo. Now let's talk about what line to use. You never want to use anything less than 6-pound test, because even though catching 6-pounder is not going to be that common, you have to account that seaweed is heavy, and when you set the hook, that adds more tension to your line, so I would recommend anywhere from 6 to 12-pound mono or fluoro. As a beginner, I would not recommend using braided fishing line because you will not get as much casting distance with it, and you will also have to add a leader because bass can see your braided line. My 2 favorite types of line is spider wire and Berkeley trilene in 6 or 8-pound tests. Now that wraps up segment number 1 of having the right setup. Now let's get into segment number 2, how bass act in each season. It is very important to know how bass act and feed in each season because it will be the deciding factor on where you go and what baits you throw. During the spring, there are 3 different types of spawning stages: pre-spawn, spawn, and post-spawn. During the pre-spawn, bass move from deeper waters to shallow areas near spawning grounds. They become more active and feed heavily. During this time, these bass are going to be very aggressive because they're trying to fatten up for the spawn, because during the spawn, they're going to be sitting on their beds, not very active, and protecting their fry. The best lures to throw during this time is going to be very aggressive baits like chatterbaits, spinner baits, swim baits, and topwaters. Now after the bass have moved on from pre-spawn, they're ready to spawn. During the spawn, bass can be found in 2 to 6 feet of water on their beds protecting the fry. During this time, the main goal for bass is to make sure nothing tampers with their beds and to protect their fry. Bass normally make their beds near some sort of cover, whether it's seaweed, boulders, brush, and sunken tires actually make a great spawning ground for the bass. The best lures to throw during this time is finesse lures like craws, Senkos, jigs, and any other bottom bouncing lures that you can flip right into their bed. Now after the bass are done spawning, they enter post-spawn. During post-spawn, bass move to deeper waters to recover from the spawn, and now are back to actively feeding. Post-spawn is arguably even better than the spawn for fishing because it is the time that bass are very aggressive, trying to get any food that they can recover from the spawn. The best lures to throw during this time is any big lures like big swim baits, chatterbaits, spinner baits, and topwaters. And now in summer, bass tend to move to deeper and cooler water during the hottest parts of the day. They may be found near underwater structures like drop-offs, submerged vegetation, or around rocks where they can ambush prey. Early morning and evening are typically the best times to fish for bass during the summer when they are more active. The best days to fish during the summer is on overcast days because bass will come up from the deeper waters to feed the whole day because the water temps have cooled down and there isn't brutal sun beating down on them. During the early morning and late afternoon, bass fishing tends to be the best because this is when the sun goes down or first comes up, so the sun isn't beating right down on them. So they're going to be up in shallower water, feeding on bait fish, and this is the best time to throw your top waters. And now after the summer and the water temps cool down, we have fall. During the fall, bass feed heavily in preparation for winter. Move back to shallow waters chasing bait fish that are also feeding heavily before winter sets in. Personally, fall is my favorite time of the year to catch bass because they are bigger bass to be caught because they are very fat from feasting on bait fish that are also feasting. The fall is the time to throw your big baits and you are bound to get a big bite. And lastly, we have winter. During winter, bass become less active and move to deeper water where temperatures are more stable. They feed less frequently and can be found in areas with less current where the water is warmer. Understanding these seasonal patterns can help anglers determine where and how to fish for bass effectively throughout the year. Now that segment 2 is wrapped up, that is going to be our longest segment, and now we're moving on to segment number 3, knowing what color lures to throw under any given condition. Knowing what color lures to throw in any condition plays a huge role in your success to catching more bass and bigger bass. First, we're going to start off with the weather conditions. On sunny days, you're going to want to throw more natural colored baits, which means colors of the baits that are going to match the fish that are in the ecosystem. The reason for this is because on sunny days, bass are going to be more picky and less open to options, so the better you can match the bait fish that are in the ecosystem, the better. Now on overcast days, you can throw lures that have more unique colors like a June bug or watermelon red flake. On overcast days, bass are going to be more open to eating different patterns because they're more active in eating anything that moves. Now we're going to transition to the water conditions. This is even more important to match the colors correctly than the weather conditions because depending on what color lure you throw, the bass might not even be able to see your bait and the chances of you catching a fish skyrocket down. When you are fishing in a body of water and the water is stained and the visibility is only a few feet or less, you're going to want to throw darker colored lures. You're going to want to throw a lot of blues, purples, and black color lures. You would think it would be the opposite, but bass have different vision than humans, so it plays a huge part in whether you'll get a bite or not. Now if you are fishing in a pond that is very clear, you're going to want to throw more brighter colors like chartreuse, white, and more natural colors to match the bait fish in that ecosystem. Now lastly, this is very important because it could change your whole day of fishing by just knowing what color lures to throw under any condition. It can go from catching no fish to filling up your live well. That about sums up segment number 3. Now we're going to move on to segment number 4, what lures to throw under any given condition. Choosing the right bass lure depends on several factors including water conditions, weather, time of year, and the behavior of the bass. However, here are some versatile bass lures that can be effective under various conditions. First, we're going to start off with bass jigs. Jigs are versatile and can be used in almost any fishing condition. Work well in both shallow and deep water, around cover, and during different seasons. I always have a jig tied on one of my rods because you can fish it anywhere in the lake, and I always tend to get a big bite with a jig. Now we're going to talk about soft plastic worms, or Senko. These are very effective for bass fishing year-round. Texas rigged or Carolina rigged worms are good choices for fishing around vegetation and structure. The best time to use a soft plastic worm is under sunny days on a Texas rig where there's vegetation because on sunny hot days, bass are normally in deep and shaded areas, so the less they have to work for their food, the better. Next up is crankbaits. Crankbaits come in various shapes and sizes for different depths and speeds. Crankbaits work best under overcast days and can be fished over rocky or gravel bottoms. They are great for covering water quickly and finding active bass. One tip for a crankbait is the longer the bill means the deeper it dives. Now we have spinnerbaits. Spinnerbaits are effective in murky water and around cover. They create vibration and flash which can attract bass in various conditions. The best time to fish a spinnerbait is in cloudy conditions because it is very attractive to fish and can draw them in from very far distances. Next up, topwater lures. Topwater lures like frogs, poppers, and buzzbaits are excellent for early morning, late evening, or when bass are feeding near the surface. The best times to throw these is during overcast conditions, or you can throw them into shaded areas where bass may be hiding. And now my personal favorite, swim baits. These are good for imitating bait fish and can be used effectively in open water or around structure. Swim baits can be fished in almost every condition, it just depends on how fast you work it. A rule of thumb with a swim bait is on sunny days, work it slow by doing little jerks, and on sunny days, you can twitch it fast or reel it in fast. And lastly, we have the drop shot rig. This finesse technique works well in clear water or when the bass are finicky. It keeps the bait suspended off the bottom where bass can easily see it. I like using this bait on very hot days in 10 to 25 feet of water because on those hot days, bass don't like a fast moving bait, so they prefer something that they don't have to work as hard to get. I like fishing this around rocks or on a gravel bottom for mainly smallmouth. My favorite bait to use on the drop shot is a 3.5 inch 6 cents panorama in gizzard shad color. That is going to wrap up today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave something in the comments on what type of content you guys want to see next, and I will see you on the next one. Peace out.